Hi, everyone. I'm Senator Tina Smith, and I want to welcome you to another Tea with Tina. I'm drinking Constant Comment tea like my mother loved, and my special guest today is my very good friend, Representative Angie Craig from Minnesota's 2nd Congressional District. Hi, Angie. How are you today?
Hi, Senator. I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, good. That's good. So what is your beverage of choice this afternoon,
I was
Angie?
told I should bring a beverage, and the truth is, I drink Summit EPA most of the time. But I was out. I went to the fridge, and apparently, this cycle has driven me to be out of beer in my fridge. So anyway, got the Fulton Lonely Blonde on tap for you.
Oh, that's perfect. That's great. Well, I am just so happy to have you join us. And as you can see, I'm literally sitting in my kitchen. Angie and we're such good friends. We could easily be sitting in each other's kitchens and just catching up after a long week. We often see each other, at least on the airplanes. I always call it our school bus as we go back and forth between Washington and Minnesota, right?
We do, Tina. The challenge I've got today is I can't forget there are other people with us. So there you go. I'm going to keep trying to remember that.
I know. Well, I'm really glad to be able to spend a little time with you this afternoon because I know that we are all thinking so much about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and losing Justice Ginsburg last night. It feels so personal to so many people that I've talked to over the last hours last night and then today. It's a reminder of just how much she touched so many people in her life. And I'm wondering if are you feeling the same way today?
I am. It's my wife actually called me. I was on the way to an event last night in Scott County to talk to the Farm Bureau folks there, and my wife Cheryl called on the drive, and she was crying. And it's just we knew she'd been ill. We knew she had fought cancer multiple times, but we also, I believe, just knew the goodness about her. And the truth is, she's been hanging on for us. She was hanging on for us. And so I woke up, last night. I got home from my event, and Cheryl and I watched Rachel Maddow, and just listened and committed to ourselves, to one another, and to this district and this state and this country that we're going to put all that energy that we're feeling, the emotion that we're feeling right now, into making sure that we win in 45 days. So there's so much at stake. You know that.
Yeah, it's so true. And, I was really struck by, we're speaking to each other, and today is Rosh Hashanah. And there is, though I'm not Jewish, there's a Jewish tradition which particularly honors as righteous those who die at the very just before the Jewish New Year. The tradition is that these are the individuals that were so righteous that God held them back until the last moment, and that feels so perfect for the passing of this woman who is really the architect of gender equality and such a role model for so many people. And I love the way she became such a powerful image, especially for young women. She was born in 1933, a year after my mother was born, yet she became such an icon for women that are in their, teens and 20s and 30s.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife Cheryl is Jewish, and when she called me on the way home last night, that was the first thing she said. Is just so fitting. And what's so interesting is how she became iconic, not just to young women, but to everyone. I mean, my 4 sons, my 17-year-old, we came home last night. He came up, he was watching it with us, and she was just such a badass, right? For everything that we care about. And obviously the rulings that she's been a part of, so many just dissents that you knew were on the right side of history, but the way she stood up on this court for my own family, with marriage equality and marriage rights, and it just touches every single one of us. We've lost something that is tremendous, that can never be replaced, a person that can never be replaced. But you know what? She left us here for a reason, and that's because it's now our turn to take up the charge, and we have to.
We have to. May her memory be a blessing, and may she bless us all with a sense of action and our own power to make a difference in the world and in the lives of our neighbors and our friends. And one thing I've been thinking a lot about, because the Supreme Court is kind of for a lot of people, it's sort of an abstract thing. They just don't really, it's 9 individuals. What do they do exactly? But I think that there's also an opportunity in this moment to really have people understand what is at stake, what the Supreme Court, what influence it has on our lives. And you just made a great point of that. I mean, if not for the Supreme Court, you and Cheryl would not have been able to have gotten married.
No, and it was more than just our marriage. It was a recognition of our family to have, I was in my 40s before my marriage to her would be recognized by my country. And, you think about all of the Supreme Court rulings, the Shelby case, the gutting of the Voting Rights Act, what they did with that, on the negative side. Look, the Supreme Court plays such an important role in so many of our lives, and it really is just unbelievable, kind of the risk we're running here as we head through the finish line in November.
Yeah, it's so true. It's funny you mentioned the Shelby case, which was the case in which the Supreme Court rolled back very, very important protections, voting rights protections. And I was just looking at this. I was looking at this morning. Ginsburg said that throwing out the provisions in the Shelby decision, she says, it's like throwing away your umbrella in a rainstorm because you're not getting wet.
Yeah.
And it's and then of course we've got the issues of healthcare, and right before the Supreme Court right now is a lawsuit that is being carried by the Trump administration. They are pushing this lawsuit to completely overturn the Affordable Care Act, which would throw 20 million people or more off of health care. It would undo all of the protections that we've counted on in the Affordable Care Act, including people having protections if they have pre-existing conditions. It would throw out the rules that say that you can stay on your parents' health insurance until you're 26. All of that would be thrown out. And now it comes before the Supreme Court with 8 individuals on the Supreme Court, not Justice Ginsburg. And it's just a reminder of how vital the Supreme Court is to our health and well-being, especially in the midst of this COVID crisis, where our worries about our health are just so, so personal and so immediate.
Well, it was a real gift to Republicans that the Supreme Court didn't take that up before the election. But make no mistake about it, without RBG on the Supreme Court, the ACA is at risk. Healthcare for millions of Americans is at risk. And, this is the same Republican Party who have now had 11 years to put forth an alternative, a healthcare plan. And we just keep waiting and waiting and waiting. And, it really annoys me that, we've got people running around saying, oh, we're going to protect pre-existing conditions. You're trying to gut the very law that does that. And so we have the absolute dishonesty. I mean, that's what it is when folks stand up and say, we're going to protect this, and they're trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. I am so tired of this binary debate. Let's just figure out how we fix healthcare. Let's just work together and do that. Let us stop politicizing healthcare. This makes me probably the most frustrated in terms of my first term in Congress. It's just ridiculous how politicized healthcare has become.
Right. Well, and it's so interesting coming from you, because you have, your experience and professional background is in healthcare. So you understand how most of the issues that come up in healthcare shouldn't be political decisions. They should be healthcare decisions. And yet, it is, healthcare has been used by the other side as just sort of this, this partisan, cudgel. And of course, you and I have lots of things in common, Angie, but one of the things we have in common is that you defeated the man who is now running against me in the United States Senate. And he's a perfect example of somebody who says all the time, oh, we want to protect pre-existing conditions, while all the while supporting legislation that would make it possible for insurance companies to go back to the bad old days when they could charge women or seniors or anybody with their pre-existing condition, anything they want in order to get healthcare coverage.
Well, I don't know if you saw the little video I put together wishing in your debate yesterday, but I just couldn't help myself. when we call him the former congressman, I really just every time want to stand up and say, "You're welcome, Minnesota." Uh, and obviously he decided that he was going to be failing up and run for the Senate this time around. So I have no doubt that you're going to show the entire state of Minnesota that he is just as wrong for Minnesota as he was for the second district.
Well, that is my intention, and we're working as hard as we can to do that. And I think that it gets to this point. I'm really curious if you're feeling this in the second district, which is such a kind of a microcosm of people who just are trying to figure out how to make their lives work. They just want the opportunity to make things work for their families. There's sort of this dichotomy that's happening right now, and we're going to see it even more now that we've lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I think there's on this one hand, this effort that's all about telling people that they should be fearful, they should be afraid, that it's chaotic, all of this division. And then, what you and I are trying to do is say, we have real challenges, but look what we can do to solve them. Look what we can accomplish if we work together. And would you just talk a little bit about what it feels like in the second district right now? And just a little bit about it. And I think everybody probably knows where the second district is, but just where it is in case they don't.
Sure. It's southeastern Minnesota. It starts, just below St. Paul, the Twin Cities, and it goes over to the Mississippi River and borders with Wisconsin. It's all of Dakota. It's all of Scott. It's half of Rice, all of Goodhue and all of Wabasha, and a little southern piece of Washington County. So it really, what's so interesting about the second is it's got, a little bit of urban, a lot of suburban, a lot of exurban, and a lot of rural. If you look at this district kind of on a map, and I was just in my district office this morning, we had a blood drive at the district office. And so we were showing my wife, Cheryl, a map of the second district with cover crops shown on it. And it's like 75% of the district is filled with cover crops. And
wow. Yeah.
As I go around this district, you know what people say to me? Yes, we acknowledge everyone wants to be safe. They want, this whole divisive rhetoric that the president and that candidates like Jason Lewis are using, but they want to be safe from crime. They want to be safe when they send their kids to school in the morning. They want to be safe from a public health crisis and pandemic. And I think more than anything, what people in our district are telling me is they are so sick and tired of the divisive rhetoric. They're sick of the chaos. They want representatives like you, Senator Smith, who are working really hard to listen to everybody and bring this country back together again. And, I just want to personally thank you. You have been such a great senator for the state of Minnesota. And, I know that is who you are. And that is consistent with what I'm trying to accomplish out here. Prior to the pandemic, I had a town hall every month, and we invited folks to show up. It was, we don't need to see your ID, just get in line and, I can take it. That's what a representative does. Show up and you answer questions. And, I got hit from my right, I got hit a little bit from my left. And at the end of the day, that's what representative government does. And you have been so good at that.
Yeah, well, you have to be willing to respect people that disagree with you or that you disagree with, and listen. And I found in my life that if you do that, you will almost always find some place, not always, but almost always, you'll find some place where you have a shared experience or common ground, and then that's how you start to build consensus. And I always say I think that compromise is a virtue, not a vice. That's how you accomplish things, because nobody gets to say, it's not my way or the highway. Nobody gets to just call the shots completely. You got to work together. And it's my value, but it also is just the practical realities of how you accomplish things in a democratic government. So that's what I find all over the state too. It's people are, I think, especially with COVID and what we're going through as a state and as a country, people are exhausted, they're worried, they're concerned, there's so much uncertainty, and they just want to believe like they've got leaders that are trying to do the right thing and are trying to figure it out and aren't fueling the fire. They're trying to, help us build back better.
That's the thing. I mean, we've got to build back better, but we've got to change and turn down the tone and the volume in this nation, because this is sowing chaos and division. That is not going to lead to the kind of country that we deserve and that we aspire to be. I just know it.
Yeah. Well, Angie, you have a really, really important election coming up. You have to run every 2 years. I've been running every, I've been kind of like a member of Congress for the last 3.5 years. But we really need to bring you back. The Minnesota delegation to the federal delegation is half women, right? So that's really incredible, and part of the legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah. I mean, we'll be done when we have all 10, right?
Yeah, I know it. Exactly right.
That's
I
what
know.
I was covered.
Yeah, exactly. I think I've been thinking a lot about my mother, who died in 2016, and as I said, she was born a year before Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and she was a wonderful, incredible, smart, feisty, passionate woman who knew how to get into trouble, good trouble, and but the doors that were opened for me because of the work that she did and that Ruth Bader Ginsburg did, the doors that were open for you both in politics and in the business world, is because of the legacy of those women.
Absolutely, it is. And every time I see someone like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who contributed so much, I think about, my mom too, the women who rose as a result of the fights that RBG had on our behalf. And, it's a lot of responsibility as a senator, as a member of Congress, because we have got to take up the legacy and the mantle and make this easier and more equitable for women of future generations, and especially for women of color in this country. We just do.
Yeah.
It is our turn to lead, and we have that responsibility and we have that privilege.
Yeah. Well, and I know you were both the mother. Do you have two sons? The
I
three?
have 4.
We have 4 sons. That's right.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
have half as many sons as you do. But I know that both you and I take it really seriously too, raising sons with the legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsburg in mind also has been part of what we both tried to do.
You know what, Tina? I think it is just as important for us to recognize the importance of our sons seeing women in leadership, because my kids are growing up in a world where it's not unusual to see 130 women be members of Congress, right?
Right.
So it's so important for young women, but it's really important for our sons to see it.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Our kids, Mason and Sam grew up, and of course now they're both married, and I've got 2 amazing daughters-in-law. So it's like having 2 daughters. And now I'm a grandmother. I became a grandmother for the first time in June, and so little baby Ari, and so it's their lives are very different.
I am so jealous of you. We had one son get married during the pandemic. He took a 140 person wedding and culled it down to 14. So,
oh my God.
and it was really, and disinvited all the grandparents because he didn't want to put them at risk. But I got a new grand dog last week.
Well, that's good. That's good.
His wife got a golden retriever and named her Sage. So,
well, Angie, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been great to be able to just chat and catch up on this day that I think we'll all remember for a long time. And I just really appreciate all the work that you're doing and all of the work that we've been able to do together in Congress. So thanks. It's great to have you with me today.
Well, it's an honor and a privilege. And if you wouldn't mind, let's toast to the legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and to the work we have left to do. Thank you so much.
That sounds great. Thank you, everyone. And come back next time. We've got Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, who'll be joining me for a cup of tea. Great. Thank you so much. Bye.